Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing Reckless Girls, written by Rachel Hawkins. It's on GOODREADS 12 top thrillers or mysteries for the first half of 2022. What did I think of this book? Well, I didn't really think it was a thriller. A lot of the book was quite dull and boring for a thriller, and it seemed more like just 20-somethings lying around on a beach. That's what it seemed to be more than a thriller. There were a couple of scenes that were thrilling, but for most of the book, it was quite dull and boring. So I didn't really think of it as a thriller, even though I have to rate it as a thriller. I thought it was quite boring, and I'm unsure on how it became in the top 12 list for 2022. This book starts with Lux, one of our main characters, getting fired from her job. She was a maid at a resort on Hawaii. Her boyfriend Nico works at a marina, mostly cleaning or repairing boats. Now, to start with, Lux and Nico, I'm not a big fan of the names. Lux sounds more like a bar of soap than a character's name. So the names didn't really work for me, like these two characters anyway. Anyway, back to the story. Nico has some news. There's two girls on holiday, Brittany and Emma. Now, Emma, another name I'm not, 100% happy with. I'm not sure what it is with some authors wanting to use strange names in their books. But anyway, back to the story. Brittany and Emma want to charter a boat to go to a small island, and they think nobody else will be there. It's way out of the way, and they just want to go there for maybe a week or so, just to spend some time in isolation, on the beach, relax, have a great time. And they want Nico to take them there, and they're willing to pay 50 grand for the experience. Nico will only go if Lux goes as well. So Lux has to decide whether she wants to be the fourth passenger on this journey, and so they can get 50 grand. So she agrees to it, and then it's all about getting ready for that journey, getting the boat ready, and going to this island. Now, this is a big flaw in the book. The island is called Moreau, and the author would have us believe that this island is in the Pacific. Moreau is actually the name of a real island, and this island is not in the Pacific. This island is near the Andaman Sea, a long way away from where the author would have us believe it is. So it's a big flaw in this book, and I would have thought that an editor would have picked it up, and an editor would have said to the author, change the name of the island. If you want to make up an island, make up a name. Don't call it the name of an island that exists somewhere else in the world. So they sail to this island. Let's call the island Moreau 2. They sail to Moreau 2, and when they get there, there's already a catamaran there, and they're not very happy about it. They want to be the only ones there, but live and let live. They find there's two people on this catamaran who are quite wealthy. Their names are Jake and Eliza. And Jake and Eliza welcome them to the island. They have a big party, a big feast, a lot of wine or champagne starts flowing. And Jake and Eliza kind of adopt them, really, and the whole time they're there, they're mooching off Jake and Eliza, basically. Eating their food, drinking their booze. They're having a great time at the expense of Jake and Eliza. Before we go on with the present storyline, I have to mention that this book is a mixture of past and present storylines, split by chapters. And again, I'm not a huge fan of books when they do this, and when an author makes use of this too often. I think there's better ways to bring the past into the present storyline, and I think some authors do that quite well, and it shows more control when they don't rely on these big chapters of past and present. In the past, we learn more about the characters and what brought them to where they are now. We learn that there's big trauma in Brittany and Emma's life. Brittany lost all her family in an accident, and Emma lost somebody as well. We also learn that while Brittany and Emma became friends while they met at a grief group, they travelled around Europe and came across another girl there called Chloe. And Brittany became friends with Chloe, Emma not so much. But Chloe was more of a kind of a petty criminal, pickpocketing people, stealing people's watches and wallets and things like that. And Emma didn't appreciate that, thought they would get in trouble, all arrested, maybe thrown out of the country. Brittany and Chloe became good friends. Their friendship, and Emma not being wild about Chloe, that's important in the story. That plays a big role in Brittany and Emma's relationship in the present storyline. We also learn a lot about Jake and Eliza in the past chapters. Jake and Eliza knew each other as teenagers, and they lost touch for many years. When they were teenagers, Eliza's mother was a cleaner for Jake's family. Jake's family is very wealthy. Eliza's family wasn't. Eliza's mother was having an affair with Jake's father, and somehow Eliza's mother carried a bag into London and was caught with cocaine in a bag. So she was arrested as a drug mule and sent to prison. And that kind of is where the story of Jake and Eliza as teenagers stopped. And then they met each other years later, and now they're together and dating. Well, dating for about 1 or 2 months. So that's very strange as well. And their past storyline impacts who they are in the present storyline. So I guess there's a reason for those chapters to be in the book, but I think there was a better way the author could have presented that to us, not have these big chunks of past, because it does affect the present storyline. So nothing's going on the island while they're all there. There's sunbathing, drinking, feasting, obsessing about who's sleeping with who's got the hots for who may have a crush on who. That's all it seems to be. Then a third boat arrives, and it's a small craft. There's one guy on it called Robbie. He seems a bit odd, but over the top odd. So much so that it's not a threat, it doesn't feel threatening, it feels more comical. And I think that was a flaw as well in this book. He does some strange things, says some strange things, and then when he's confronted, he just runs off into the forest, or into the jungle on the island, I should say. And then he vanishes, and no one knows where he is. So I thought that was a cop-out move as well in the book. But he does do something later on that is quite thrilling, and it has a sense of threatening behaviour to it, a sense of danger. So that was a good element in the story. But unfortunately, it's very small. So for a whole book, to have a very small element that feels threatening, that feels tense and suspenseful, it's not a good sign when you're meant to be writing a thriller. But after that moment, then it just seems to be more and more pages of feasting, drinking, partying, etc. The last 40 or so pages of this book ramp up some suspense and tension, but it's too much crammed in to those last 40 pages, and it seems to be over the top as well. And I think it's just not believable. It doesn't seem real enough, even in the confines of a book. So I think the authors kind of failed at writing a thriller. I didn't get the sense of a thriller in this. It didn't have me at the edge of my seat, and I didn't really engage with any of the characters after the first couple of chapters. I was getting tired of them, and I just found them very dull for a thriller, and I just wanted the book to be over. I didn't really care what happened to the characters by the end. Lux, one of our main characters, look, the character was better than the story. So the character was better written than the story was. I was behind the character for most of the book, but then I just didn't care what happened to her because I was getting tired of the behaviour, the way she was written and presented. And by the end, everything just seemed so coincidental that it just seemed a bit ridiculous. And I didn't care if the character lived, died, whatever happened to her. It just didn't make an impact for me. So I engaged with the character for a lot of the book, and then that engagement just fell away. Nico, well, he was just written as a spoiled rich kid, a bit of a douche really. And if that's the author's intention, then the author gets top marks, because that came through more than anything else. The strongest thing about this character is that the spoiled rich kid doesn't take anything seriously. If he doesn't get his own way, he throws a tantrum and then spits a dummy and runs off and does something else, something crazy. And that happened in this book. And you just get the sense that this character is just a bit of a jerk. And I didn't engage with this character at all. I just found the character unlikable. And I think that is the author's intention by the end of the story, to make this character unlikable. There's nothing endearing about the character at all, really. Jake, the rich guy with the catamaran, he's very one-dimensional. He's all about money, nothing else. and that just came through again and again in the book. So he needed more light and shade with his character. He needed more facets to his personality to make him seem lifelike, well crafted. So I think the author created some characters okay, but there are no perfect characters in this book, and Jake is far from perfect. And again, it's another character that you don't care about what happens to. You just have to get through the book to get rid of the characters, basically. And this character, it's not endearing, not engaging, one-dimensional. I think the author could have taken a bit more care with the way the characters were written. GOODREADS has this in the top 12 thrillers/mysteries of the first half of 2022. I don't know why, because it's not really a thriller at all. I think it's just touted as a thriller, marketed as a thriller, but it's not really a thriller. It's got one or two elements, one or two scenes that may be thrilling, but the rest is quite boring. Just about 20-somethings partying on a beach. I rate this a 2 out of 5. I don't know if I would go and read another book by the same author, especially that in the end of the book, the author's written that this is the most complex book that she's ever written. And that seemed odd to me. I don't know what that says about previous books in her catalogue. On my channel, I do review many thrillers. If you don't want to miss out on those videos, check out my channel and subscribe. Also, check out the thriller playlist on my channel. It should be on your screen now.